We're Plant Powered Disruptors. Yeah.
I'm Dashita Disruptor.
And I'm Philly Disruptor. And welcome to our show.
Welcome to our first ever episode. I hope you like it. Can you introduce our guest, Philly?
All right, I shall, Dashita. Our first guest, you might know him, many different things. He wears many hats, kind of like the hat I'm wearing. But let's give it up for the one, the only, Jason Trachtenburg.
I'll clap for myself. And that's the way it is. Thank you and congratulations on this wonderful new show.
Yeah.
Plant Powered Disruptors. Everyone better get used to saying it.
Yeah. It's sure a mouthful. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah. It's a mouthful of delicious vegan health and nutrition is what it is. And it's an honor to be your first guest on your first show.
And it's great that each guest will bring some little bits of themselves into the show.
Literally.
So, yeah.
They're bringing a piece of themselves.
Piece of themselves. So because it's our first show, so let's start with a little bit explaining what we mean.
Mm-hmm.
And we're Plant Powered Disruptors. We disrupt the status quo to make this world a little bit better place for all beings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's a lot of people that are out there that are up to no good. And we're trying to combat that with love, right?
Right. And all of our guests are vegans, but they're not just vegans. They are doing something really amazing for this world. They're all disrupting reality in one way or another to make it more exciting and more interesting place to be. So, Jason, with that, I would like to ask our first question. Mm-hmm. So what about veganism? Obviously, you've been vegan. I heard you've been vegan for many years. What was the story? What made you being vegan? What keeps you staying vegan for so many years? Would love to hear a story.
Thank you. So when I'm not busy interrupting and disrupting reality, I do practice veganism. I've been a vegan for 32 years.
Wow.
It's when I discovered it. I don't feel like it's like I discovered it.
I discovered veganism!
I was the first vegan in the world, although in my friend's circuit, I probably was. Mm-hmm. It wasn't very popular back in 1992. It definitely has come a long way since then in these 30 years, 30-odd years, and odd years is the word for sure. Basically, I didn't know anything about vegetarianism at all or veganism at all. The only time I'd ever even heard the word before was through, I was a member of the Paul McCartney fan club. And so as part of their magazine, this is in the 1980s, they would often have a lot of vegan advocacy in the magazine. It was called the Wings Fun Club. And that was the first time I'd heard about it. And I remember I'd get these letters from England with these British stamps on them. It was so unique. And it seemed a little foreign to me. I didn't even know where to start. I didn't know that having a meal without meat or without milk, in the case of breakfast, was even an option. In fact, if anything, wouldn't that be inferior? Wouldn't that be a lower way of living, lower on the food chain? I didn't even know what beans were. Beans weren't allowed in my house. If I could, I'll skip right to because I don't want to forget this part. I'm going to kind of go back and forth. I just want to make sure I say this one part, though. The first time I made beans and rice in my house, my father was so disappointed. And he said, what are you cooking peasant food for?
Ooh.
And that stuck with me for a long, long time. And I remember the first beans I cooked were adzuki beans, and the first rice I cooked was wild rice. And those are both really tricky to cook as far as things go. Obviously, if you're going to start somewhere, I'd recommend maybe with yellow lentils or green lentils and regular brown rice. But I didn't know what I was doing, and it burned a couple times, but it was so good. I'll never forget how good that was. The first.
How did those peasants do it so well?
It's just ingrained into.
I see what you did there.
Oh, ingrained.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Thanks. That was so good. I don't think I can continue. But we're okay. So welcome to episode number 2 of Plant Powered Disruptors. That was episode 1. It went pretty well, but that was a mic drop ingrained for sure. So basically, a confluence of events happened to create my vegan path. One of them was the association with my long-term life partner and wife, Tina Pina Trachtenburg. She's of Mexicana descent, and they had beans in her household. And so she knew about rice and beans.
Nice.
We didn't know about rice and beans. So that was natural for her. And then as far as the extension to all-out vegetarianism and veganism, it happened while I was living in Austin, Texas. We were living in Austin, Texas. And that's a really good place to become a vegan or a vegetarian, even in the 90s. It's kind of a little more progressive as far as things go. I think in the South and in California, it was more accepted. There was more possibilities than there was in the so-called Great Northeast.
What? I don't believe what I'm hearing. I was under the impression in the South it would be all like Longhorn steaks in Texas or something like that.
There of course, there is that element of the Longhorn steaks in Texas. There certainly is the barbecue and all that, but there's still beans, right? We didn't have any beans in Philadelphia. They were outlawed, at least in my house. They were. They still are, as a matter of fact.
Depends how they're cooked.
Yeah, fantastic. And we also had a couple of neighbors who were very progressive. These guys, Steve and Danny. One fellow's name was Steve Best, and he's actually a pretty famous vegan. Dr. Steve Best.
Wow.
For animal advocacy, you can definitely look him up. He's definitely all over the internet, and he was our neighbor.
No relation to Pete, right?
No relation to Pete whatsoever. He didn't get kicked out of the band or anything. No, Steve Best and his roommate Danny Postal, and they were hardcore vegans back in 1992, and I'd never met anyone like them before. And it was
Danny would go postal over that.
Totally. And they're still, especially Steve Best. He's actually a famous vegan advocate. He's written a lot of books and articles. And I think he still lives in, I don't know where he lives, but you can follow his work. He was our neighbor, and he actually introduced all the concepts to us. I also picked up the book Diet for a New America by John Robbins. And those who don't know John Robbins, he was the son of a famous ice cream making family.
What?
Yep. Have you heard of them? Baskin and Robbins.
Oh, yes.
Right? So John Robbins was the son of Robbins, and he gave up his family's millions to advocate for veganism because he saw that both his uncle and his father, who were Baskin and Robbins, both had heart disease in their 50s and died. And then not to mention the animal cruelty factors as well, too. But it's called Diet for a New America. It's a very, very important book. I think there's been a few new editions since then, but I had the first edition back in 92. And so just all these things started coming together at once, and it's just, I realized that this is the way to live my life. I wouldn't tell anyone else how to live their life, although I do all the time. But it just made a lot of sense for me. My health started getting better. My joints started feeling better. I started looking younger each year.
You really do look super young.
And continue to look young. I feel like for every animal you don't eat, like those are the years.
Oh, it adds you like month of your life.
Well, in other words, the years of the animal's life that were taken away, that's what you're eating if you're eating the meat. And if you don't eat that, and you're just eating plants and vegetables and delicious fruits, all the wonderful gifts of the earth, you're actually giving those years right back to you as well too. It just seems to make sense. I mean, I'm not a scientist, although I did earn a degree in plant-based nutrition from Cornell University. We got to talk about that later.
Wow.
I have a certificate. It was a certificate. I mean,
is it a doctorate or something like that?
It's a certificate. It's a certificate.
Can we add Jason Trachtenberg and add some letters at the end of your name?
I think that's enough letters already. No, my last name has 12 letters. That's a lot.
That's a triple word score right there.
Yeah. I know some last names, especially Russian last names, have even longer letters.
Yeah, definitely.
How many letters is your last name, Dashita?
I don't know. I haven't counted.
It's Disruptor, right? Disruptor or ER? That's 14 letters.
Yeah, we're working on it.
That's pretty good.
That's at least a double word score on that.
Yeah. And so it just became pretty clear that this is how I'm going to live my life. I don't think they even had the word veganism back then. It was called strict vegetarian is what it was called back then. Strict vegetarian. There's lacto-ovo-vegetarian, the pescatarian, which we heard earlier tonight. And not necessarily on this show. It was on something else we were talking about. And but strict vegetarian was what it was called. But that word sounded too strict. So they changed it to veganism. Although the word veganism was around since the 1800s. It started with the Vegan Society in England, I believe.
Yep.
But the word wasn't as common. We were called strict vegetarians, like in the King's song "Ape Man." I'm a strict vegetarian, right? If you catch that lyric.
Ape Man, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. He must be a vegetarian, Ray Davies. He looks like one anyway. That's for sure. It takes one to know one.
He's staying young.
He's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And so I just got better and better at cooking, better and better at food combining. Better at breakfast, better at lunch, better at dinner.
I would like to state this for the record. As me, I remember being a total hot mess and showing up at Jason's house, and I would show up all the time because he would invite me over for dinner, and I couldn't pass up a free meal. So slowly but surely, he kept on feeding me all these vegan and vegetarian meals. They were all vegan meals. And slowly but surely, now I am literally, I turned vegan in 2012 and haven't looked back since. So then well done, Jason.
That's a long time. Thank you. No, our pleasure. Of
help.
course, obviously my wife, Tina Pena Trachtenberg, had a lot to do with that as well, too.
Sure. You guys would even have vegan July 4ths where they'd have vegan tofu dogs and things like that and give out food to the people in the street. It was great.
Oh, of course. I remember those days for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you try and spread the information. I am also a 20-year volunteer at the 4th Street Food Co-op in the East Village.
Nice.
I think that there's different kinds of advocacy that can be involved. Some, of course, is getting out in the street. You know, people like to do the marches in the streets and the signs. And there's going to be a sign making show, festival, event coming up soon at Caravan of Dreams. Is that right?
No, different spot. But we're gonna get out there and we're gonna be making signs with the people and showing them how to make some signs for the upcoming
Animal Liberation March.
Yeah,
in New
it's
York
coming up real
City, the
soon,
big
right?
one.
We'll have to talk more about that later, perhaps.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Or
sure.
talk about it now.
Would love to.
No.
Let's ask the audience.
I would like to hear some music from you.
Okay, that sounds great. Let's do that, and we'll talk about everything else later.
So what are you going to play
Well, you
for
know
us?
what? This is your first show, right?
Yeah.
It's Plant Powered Disruptors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is our debut.
You know what you guys need?
What?
You guys need a theme song.
Agreed.
And I wrote you a theme song. Here we go. Plant Powered Disruptors interrupt the fabric of reality, challenging the status quo so you can see, speaking up for animals by disrupting. Plant Powered Disruptors, plants and pigs and veganism advocacy. Here we go. Plant Powered Disruptors, Plant Powered Disruptors, Plant Powered Disruptors, Plant Powered Disruptors, Plant Powered Disruptors. Plants and pigs and veganism advocacy. That's called Plant Powered Disruptors. Thanks.
That's amazing.
That is really amazing.
Plant Powered
That's
Disruptors.
awesome.
Use it for anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
You can use it for disrupting the status quo.
It's really inspiring, yeah, but
Thank
it's also
you.
it's
Thank
also very like dynamic, fast. It's
It's
stylish.
I'm going to be playing it very loud in my apartment, so I will be disrupting the sleep of my neighbors.
I hope it's about 30 seconds too, so we could. So that's Plant Powered Disruptors.
That's ideal. I think it's an ideal
Thank
song
you.
for
Thank
us.
you.
So thank you, Jason.
My pleasure. Is what I do.
Okay, so obviously, like I think we switched to your music career, and you're obviously a musician and quite famous one. So can you tell us about like how your music career started? I think like I read about it. It's you started somewhere in the late '80s in New York scene, Lower East Side, anti-folk and performance art scenes. So can you tell us a little bit about it? I just moved to New York 2 years ago. Disclaimer: I don't know anything about anti-folk.
Welcome to New York for sure.
Thank you.
You picked the right city to come to.
Definitely.
There's a lot going on here. Love it or not, there's a lot going on here.
That's
and of
true.
course, the vegan scene is absolutely getting bigger and bigger here.
Nice.
And in my
Nice,
neighborhood,
yeah.
Bushwick, it is really, really big. Not necessarily the healthy vegan scene, but still the vegan scene. You got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start somewhere. I started playing guitar in 1984.
Okay.
And so I actually started playing piano in 1976. But, you know, you got to start somewhere. The 70s were great. Don't get me wrong. And I guess I started writing songs around 87 or 88. I started off by doing what a lot of people do is we do cover songs. Me and my friend Rennie, we would do Beatles songs together. We would also like take the lyrics of Beatles songs and change them to do with our friends from camp. Right? So you kind of got to start like, you know, putting words to music. And it was really kind of natural, fun way to start. Like we'd make fun of our bunk mates by changing the words to Beatles songs. You know, so that's kind of the way we'd start. And then let's write our own songs. Let's try that. And pretty rudimentary stuff, you know. And then I don't know. I tried to get a little bit fancier with the songwriting. I started getting more into musical theater, things that weren't as popular in the 1980s amongst most high school and junior high school kids. I started getting into more music from the 60s, you know, more stuff like the Kinks and the Beatles, of course, and Rolling Stones and Jimi Hendrix. Although that came a little bit later. Singer-songwriter stuff from the 70s, you know, Gordon Lightfoot and all that kind of stuff. I really like that kind of music.
I love Sundown.
I love Sundown. What a vibe. What a song.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought I'd get into advertising, you know, commercials. Actually, I had a career in television for a little while in the late 80s. I don't know if I ever told you about that.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah. I was actually worked at Channel 11 and CBS Television.
What?
At age 20 and 21 in various departments. And then I thought, you know what? If I don't quit right now, I'm going to regret this my whole life. So but much to my parents' dismay, I gave up that career that was basically laid out, in television, and not necessarily in production, but kind of like behind the scenes stuff. It was there. I was doing it at age 20, just basically from internships and other connections. I got a job at CBS Television. It was a different time for sure. And WPIX Channel 11, in the promotions department. I was doing like that kind of stuff.
Wow, you were like the Herb Tarlick of your station, I guess.
It's like it was there to be done if I wanted it, and I just thought, if I stick with this career in television, if I'm behind the camera, I'm going to regret this my whole life, and I'm probably going to do something stupid like run out in front of the camera in front of like Dan Rather, who was always right there. He was right in the hallway. It wasn't a big deal. And I was thinking this. I couldn't stop thinking this thought. It was an obsessive thought. I cannot do this with my life, even though it would have been a safe career. It might have gotten into the creative stuff. Who knows, right? But it wouldn't have been doing what I'm doing now. That's for sure. And so I quit and dropped out of college. I was still in college when I had the job. I started. It was there.
Wow.
And so I said I have to become a singer-songwriter. I was even thinking now, that was kind of nuts. Maybe I should have stuck with it. But no, I'm really glad I didn't, because I led a much more interesting life. In fact, I bet you, trying it all together, if I would have stuck with that career and all that stuff, I wouldn't have gotten into the veganism. Where would I have learned about that? I wouldn't have moved to Austin, Texas, and done alternative things. I would have, been in the CBS cafeteria with the burgers and the hot dogs and stuff, and say, this is what you're supposed to do.
And the little milks.
The little cartons of milk. There's no doubt I wouldn't have been learned about any of this stuff, because I only learned about it by turning CBS television off, by turning Channel 11 off. That's the only way I learned about vegetarianism and veganism, an alternative way to live. That was the ultimate mainstream reality. I just didn't know how scary it would have gotten. I kind of knew it was going to get scary, and so that's I've never really thought about it this deeply before. So it's kind of fascinating. So this is 1989.
So
1990 is a long time.
You were
ago.
going with your gut on this.
Yeah, and it's just I probably would have had heart disease by now. I wouldn't look. I would look completely different. I would have been totally
that's
person.
what I thought it would look completely
the
different.
alternate reality Jason Trachtenberg would have been a whole different guy.
Yeah, I would have had a retirement plan and a 401(k) or whatever.
Corporate.
Y2K.
That's why you're disrupting reality. That's why you're on our show.
Probably calling himself Jay.
Probably.
Yeah, Jay Trachtenberg.
J Track.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's people would call him J Track. Hey J Track, that's good, man.
Yeah, and I probably would have been pretty high up at this point as well too, because I started so young, so long ago. Probably like, program director or whatever. I mean, it was, of course, at least the programming might have been a little bit better. Oh my God, how television and media and entertainment is fun, but you're not allowed to do what you want to do anyway. It wouldn't have worked out anyway. So that's an interesting tale as far as things go. Oh, but so then I met Tina as well too. My wife Tina Pena Trachtenberg. She was just Tina Pena at the time, of course. And
you had a band together, right?
We had a band together. We had our wonderful daughter Rachel, who's all grown up now. We had a family band of which that's how we met. Philly Disruptor here was through various media enterprises that he was involved in.
Sure.
In working with our band in the audio video capacities. Back through various television projects and various shows.
Making the Scene. I remember that. I saw you on Making the Scene.
Making the Scene.
I was directing Making the Scene, and I was just like, would you like to come onto my TV show?
I go, hey, we just want to make the scene.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to make the scene? You want to make the scene? I'll make the scene. Let's make the scene.
Right on.
But first you got to make the bed. And you make the scene. Always make your bed. It's just get your dad.
I'm working on that.
Is that your thing?
A day at a time. I've got to fix my bed.
Maybe just first thing in the morning before you leave the bedroom. Otherwise it might not get done. I'm a bit of a stickler for that.
You are so
make
right.
it.
I have to make it now because I work from home and I have a studio.
So
it's like I'm on the
everybody's
camera.
going to look at her bed and be like,
Don't make it for them. Make it for yourself. If you're making it for them, you're not going to...
Well, but now you get into the habit, and now I'm making it for myself.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Do you have a song about that or anything like that? I'm sorry to throw you into a musical.
I want to make the bed every morning.
You have a song about it.
Great improviser.
Woke up, got out of bed.
Oh my God! Awesome.
Let's do a song actually. So I wanted to write a really non-controversial
But
song.
before you do it, what
sorry.
was about
Move it.
anti-folk?
Oh, sure.
I was so curious to hear about it.
Sure. Okay. So we'll edit that little bit out.
I mean,
No, that's
no
fine.
song got started there. No one saw that.
All
Okay.
right.
What song didn't get started? Some of the best songs never get started. That's the thing. Okay. So eventually, I was in New York working in television, as talked about, and there was this whole scene called the anti-folk scene. Anti-folk. No hyphen. Anti-folk. They're sticklers about this.
They were anti-folk.
They were they were. I've already used the word sticklers twice. I need to mix up the vocabulary a little bit. Where's my thesaurus? Where's my thesaurus?
But why were they
Sorry.
anti-folk? Was it
Okay.
anti-country or?
No, okay. So folk music was what was going on in the West Village, and they were saying, and we're in the East Village. They go, this is folk music. What they're doing in the West Village, then we must be anti-folk
It's the antithesis.
of
Yeah.
folk. The
folk.
antithesis folk is more like it. Yeah, as opposed to being against folk, because. Someone call a train? What's going on here? I thought this was.
Didn't know there were trains around here.
Yeah, there it
This
is.
is not. The studio is not soundproof. That much is for sure. Either that, or we're actually in the Lincoln Tunnel.
Very close.
I think we're in the Lincoln Tunnel here.
Uh-huh.
Or almost, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know there was a 13th Avenue. We're pretty far west. Okay, anyway, it's like Manhattan's like elevators. In other words, you know how there's no 13th floor?
Right.
There's no 13th Avenue.
Mhm.
Right? There would have been, but it's in the Hudson
In the
River.
Rias.
We have officially gotten sidetracked. From
Way off the track. See that railroad?
That's fine, we can get
train
back
just
to
took us off
it.
the track.
That train just, no, that is anti-folk. Anti-folk. So it's basically a movement of songwriters who didn't really get accepted in Greenwich Village, who were not traditional folky songwriters, although the folky influences definitely do gravitate towards anti-folk as well too, but it's more about like maybe a little more punk rock, a little less proper,
Mm-hmm.
a little messier is kind of what anti-folk was, because folk music is so, like Peter, Paul, and Mary and things like that. It's real clean.
Yeah.
So anti-folk was a little messier.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds
But it was
great.
still people with acoustic guitars, but it was different because those acts couldn't get booked in Greenwich Village, but they could
Okay.
get
Now I
booked in the
see.
East Village. So this started in the '80s by a fellow named Latch, Lach, who's a bit of a hero to a lot of people, and he actually really helped me out in a lot of ways as well too. If everyone gave back to Latch what he gave to them, he would be bigger than Taylor Swift.
Wow.
That's how much
Oh,
he's
wow.
given other people. Now, I'm not saying Taylor Swift hasn't given anyone anything, but I haven't seen it, But no, Latch has given a lot of people a lot of things, and he deserves a lot of payback.
Cool.
Payback can be a good thing sometimes.
No, that's great to hear. And obviously, folk still has influence on your music. And
Oh, it's still folk. It's still acoustic guitar.
Yeah, play a little
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. So is it okay to do a song?
sure,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
just
okay.
go ahead if you could play some.
Okay, so I wanted to write a song that was extremely non-controversial. 'Cause I know we're dealing with a lot of controversial stuff here with Plant Powered Disruptors, disrupting the fabric of society. Just,
Correct.
blowing things. Am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
Blowing people's asses right off. The whole thing, right? So I wanted to write a song that was completely non-controversial, and this song is the least controversial song I could have ever written. It's a song about the weather, and there's no other double meaning in it. It's called Rainy Summer. I've got that rainy summer, got that rainy, crazy, lazy summer, got that rainy summer on my mind. Got that rainy summer, got that rainy, crazy, lazy summer, got that rainy summer on my mind. The clouds are clear when you're way up here, and nothing seems to mind. Got that rainy summer on my mind. And suddenly the sun appears like it was sent from up above, and nothing seems to matter to my love. Rainy summer, got that rainy, crazy, lazy summer, got that rainy summer, got that rainy, crazy, lazy summer, got that rainy summer on my mind. Got that rainy summer on my mind. Got that rainy summary. Thank you. There's no hidden meanings in it.
Oh, Jason, I have a question. Why are you pushing this woke agenda of rainy, crazy summer? See, saying that it's crazy, it is implying that it's not sane and it's woke. I'm saying.
I'm sorry I triggered you.
I feel some sort of way right now. You're gonna make me vote for.
Yeah, I don't want to write no controversial songs. Not necessary.
Yeah, it was too much controversial. Yeah.
Pushed me over the edge.
But if you think about it, we're all woke because otherwise we'd be asleep.
Yeah.
Oh, I am happy
some
to
people
be
are happy
woke
to be-
for sure. I
some
don't
people are
have a
happy to be
problem being
asleep,
woke.
just saying.
Yeah.
I'm woke 16 hours a day, and then I sleep 8 hours a day.
That's great. That's actually very healthy.
Yeah. I'm
It's
trying to
actually very
get
healthy.
more sleep in there. I think I sleep for 8 hours.
8 is
today.
good. 8 is good.
I was shocked.
8 is enough.
Somebody
So-
should really make a show about that.
Yeah.
So when I heard your music for the first time, I was so excited because I clearly heard some influences like Britpop, for instance, like after living there, like during the 90s, during the like Pulp, Blur and all this, like great bands performing there. But we also talked about the Beatles, which is also amazing. And they definitely had an influence on me in becoming vegetarian first and
I
then
know.
switching to
They-
vegan.
They actually
So-
were more than a band.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney was the biggest influence for me to be a
Yeah,
vegetarian.
correct. Yeah.
George also practiced it. John some sort of practiced it. You know,
And
Ringo looks great. You know?
yeah,
Ringo-
actually-
Ringo-
Yeah, he's.
I don't know if Ringo's.
And John Lennon's influences are like the reason I live in New York, actually, just
Really?
because he loved New York so
Yeah.
much, and he was just like ready to sacrifice like his ability to travel, going back home, and he had this immigration case going on, and it was like differently kept me going through my immigration processes. So it's like it's just amazing how they influence life in so many ways
More than a
and
band.
so many people. Yeah.
As cool as the Stones are and all those bands, the Beatles.
I
like
love
the music
the
was
Stones
almost
as well.
secondary to everything else
Yeah.
that they did. It was bigger than everything for sure. I still haven't gotten over them. And the funny thing is like when I was younger, I felt like we knew everything about the Beatles. Like we'd seen every picture,
Yeah.
you know, we'd heard every song, and all of a sudden there's like thousands of songs, thousands of pictures we've never seen before.
Yeah,
And
that
it-
whole
Yeah.
documentary. Like, let's get all that film footage and make 9 more hours of document.
Yeah.
And that stuff is great for
It-
real.
It was really wonderful. The one funny thing in the Beatles community that I think is the common statement is that of all the albums that they were going to film the whole thing of it, it had to be Let It Be was the one album they filmed. You know,
Seriously?
they could have that's probably like the least album anyone wants to see. Is
Yeah.
Although it was great as well. And the Preston stuff was. But I would have loved to see them film Hard Day's Night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or the making of the record. Obviously, the movie was
Right.
great. I would have loved to see them. Obviously, Sgt. Pepper's. That would have been amazing to see. Abbey Road. You know, to see them see the filming of that, the creative process behind. I know most people would say Revolver or Soul as well too.
Yeah.
I love a
That'd be the
Revolver.
consensus. But the three I would like to have seen filmed were Hard Day's Night, Sgt. Pepper, and Abbey Road.
Right on.
Were the three that I'd like to have seen filmed.
It's so funny because I think one of the best reviews I ever saw of it. I think one of the guys from the Slackers said that when they Get Back documentary came out, they just put one thing. They said, "Hope you really like I Got a Feeling." Hope you really like that song because you're gonna hear it 2 billion freaking times.
Oh my god!
But it's an amazing. It's one of my favorite Beatles songs. I definitely love.
Yeah, that was the thing of all the songs to hear over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But it was still fascinating. I
Yeah.
loved it. I'm glad. What an interesting development.
Yeah, just to see the politics behind that, everything they had to go through, and how they interacted with each other, especially at that time,
It was real.
at
And
the
Oh,
height
yeah.
of their fame, and also going through their thing.
it
Yeah.
was really something. It was really. And it's
Very
amazing
emotional.
though that there isn't more filmed footage like that of the other records because all the stuff keeps coming out. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a ton of film footage that we haven't seen yet. You know, of the making of these other records. I mean, everything they did was being filmed constantly. You know, and be it photography or.
But probably not so purposefully like that one because
not
we were
so
trying.
purposefully, but
Yeah,
even
they were
so.
trying to.
Well,
make
sometimes
a
things
movie.
get uncovered. That's why we're so lucky
Yeah.
about this, and then all the
Like
details and ones
bootleg
to recolor
versions.
everything and fix up the sound.
It's really something for sure, and it's really too bad that John Lennon, got shot so young, and but it was meant to be though. It almost seemed like when that did happen in 1980, it almost, I was a young fan of I was just kind of discovering the Beatles, and so I knew who they were, and I loved that double fantasy record was really
Sure,
big then.
yes.
And so I knew who he was and everything. It almost seemed like, oh well, this was already scripted. Of course he got shot and died December 8th, 1980. Especially born 1940, died 1980.
Right, his
It's like,
birthday.
of course he died right then, you know, because it's like he wouldn't have wanted to live through the 80s
Mhm.
and the 90s and all that. You know, it seemed like it was scripted almost.
I remember when he passed away. At that time, like I would go back and forth in different phases. I had like a George phase, I had a Ringo phase, I had a Paul McCartney phase, a really big Paul McCartney phase.
You know,
And-
Ringo phase.
Yeah, well, everybody, you know, when you get tired of all the other guys, you go
Sure,
back.
sure.
Yeah, so then I was really deep in my John Lennon phase, and then he dies. I was like, oh, it got me, really. It was just like I felt some sort of way.
Yeah.
Do you remember that day actually?
I
December
do,
8th?
Yeah. I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How old were you, Phil?
Oh, gosh, let's see. I was born in 1967, so do
Oh,
the math on
12,
that.
13.
Yeah, so I
So you
remember...
remember a little better than
Yeah,
that.
I remember I was walking down the street with my stepdad and, my mom's boyfriend, and hearing, like, on the news, like, John Lennon had gotten shot. And I was just like, what the heck? And he's looking at me like, what? And I'm like, you don't understand how important this band is to me. But
And were you living in New York at the time?
I was. I was living
You was
in the Bronx.
born, right? You were
Yeah.
born in New York.
I was born in Brooklyn, raised in the Bronx.
There
What
you
about
go.
you, Jason?
I was actually living in Seattle, Washington at the time. My family lived out there from 77 to 81, so we're definitely there in 80.
Okay. Do you remember the day?
I do, and I famously saw it on how actually most Americans heard about it was on Monday Night Football with Howard Cosell, and he announced it because Howard Cosell and John Lennon were friends, and they've actually did a lot of work together. You know, they were definitely buds for sure. There's a lot of fun footage of that.
I figured
And-
that Howard Cosell was up to shenanigans.
Oh sure, but he announced it, and I think he was shot. I'm like, oh, maybe he didn't die, or like it was like, of course he was shot. It just like it felt like something I already knew had happened as it happened, and they just had like starting over. I'm like, oh my god, is this what the word irony is supposed to mean? And all this, how strange is all this? And music was just starting to be like really, really important to me. I kind of more liked. I didn't really know. I was more into the current top 40 of the day.
As was I.
Yeah, so I didn't really. I wasn't into the art of buying old records yet. I was into the top. I hardly bought any records, but just listened to the top 40. From starting around 1977, and just I was listening on Saturday morning. They did the top 40.
Yeah, sure.
Every week.
Casey Kasem's.
Exactly, and just so I knew the songs, and so more so than the actual Beatles catalog. And then around maybe 83 or so, I started getting back. Let's see what's really going on with this stuff, especially because music was so questionable around 1983, 1984.
Sure.
What is going on with popular music? I've got to go back in time. So not only as far back as the Beatles, but Great American Songbook, Cole Porter, Irving Berlin.
Oh, you were this backwards traveler going on.
Yeah, very much so. And and so that kind of defined who I was based on how bad the 80s music was. And I got to go in junior high school and high school. So that was really, I'm glad the music was as bad as it was, because otherwise I might not have discovered all this good stuff.
I, for the record, was a big new wave fan, so I was all up in this 80s stuff. Sorry.
I'm not surprised. I was on
But what about punk music? That was like very big in the early 80s.
wasn't for
as
me.
well.
I was more into like show tunes.
Oh, okay.
I found the punk stuff. It seemed kind of messy, and I did not like Saliva, so it really made me kind of disgusted. So, and it was right around the time I liked the more Talking Heads-esque stuff after Elvis passed away. So that kind. But when I started getting to more Sex Pistol-y stuff, I didn't get into it until retroactively later.
Yeah. No, I skipped all that, and I've continued to skip it since, for sure. Anything. Although there's always good stuff going out for sure. There's some good stuff now, but anyway. So let's
More music?
More music, yeah.
Yes,
and
please.
we'll talk more about veganism, vegetarian as well too.
Heck
We got some questions there. Maybe we can hit as well too. Let me do one more song, and then we'll do a few more questions. Okay? How
Sure.
does that sound?
Yeah, let's
That's
do
how-
more
that's how we
music.
do it on the show. Okay. Let's see here. I actually have a bit of a set list.
Nice.
I got a song for you. Here, this is what I really wanted to do today. So this is a song. Anyone can use this song about anything. It's one of those versatile songs. And it's not that I don't know these songs. I just want to make sure since we're phones.
Well, you write so many songs. I mean, you're just knocking them out here.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's good to be organized. So this song is called "Old Habits Die Hard." It's a bit of a country song, and I like this one a bunch. And it's just about like giving up things to make your life better.
Nice.
Old habits die hard. At least that's what they say. I'm counting them cards, and I'm counting them days. Don't give up the goat. then sell off the farm. Old habits are tried and they're true, but you knew that old habits die hard. Old habits die hard, old habits die hard, old habits don't die. 3 bottles of gin, gin, gin until the day that I'm dry. You'd stay in your grave, you'd stay in your grave, but you already died. I made a legal faux pas. I skimmed the contract after I signed. Not a good idea. You only live once. It's just a marketing scheme where you can get what you want. Don't you know what I mean? Don't give up the ghost. Don't give up your guard. Old habits are tried and they're true, but you knew that old habits die hard. Old habits are tried and they're true, but you knew that old habits die hard.
Right on.
Old habits die hard.
Right on. It also
That's awesome.
it had a little feeling of a little Neil Young in there. Just a touch. I just love that.
Neil covered a lot of ground as well too, for sure. He's done some good work.
Mm-hmm.
He's done some average work too, but haven't we all? You know.
Yeah, you know what? I looked in my old record collection and I saw that I had a record by Neil Young called Trans, and I was like, wow, that is really progressive. You know, I mean, to think of how crotchety.
Glad you didn't get canceled for that. No, I know that. That's more of like electronic-y kind of.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm being modern.
That's funny.
Right,
he didn't know how modern.
He didn't know how. Yeah, he's so futuristic now.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we talk so much about the music, but it's definitely not the only thing which you do. And
it's Plant Powered Disruptors.
I know, but you're also an actor. So when I did my little research, I found out that you were starring in this movie, Me and Lee, and the musical. So
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit why?
A good way to start a movie is to make the movie, right? It's you definitely you get the role every time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I am an assassinologist.
Mm-hmm.
Not only JFK, RFK, MLK, Malcolm X, but also John Lennon as well too. And
Right.
we'll get into that later. It was not as clear cut as they said it was.
Oh, really?
In fact, I was going to write a book about the Lennon assassination, but a lot of that material was covered in a book called Who Killed John Lennon from 1989, and I feel like I would have been just rewriting this guy's book who already did it. And I heard that Sean Lennon doesn't really like the subject. And I didn't want to be known as the assassination guy or whatever. So this other guy already wrote the book already. It's called Who Killed John Lennon. I forgot the name of the author, but it pretty much covers everything we would have covered. Although maybe some new stuff would have come out, but he really did a deep dive, and I would have just pretty much been copying his books. I couldn't do that.
Makes sense.
So Me and Lee, the musical. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I've been studying the Kennedy assassination for a long time. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of confusion because it was by intent. You know, from the minute it happened, even from before it even happened. What do you mean before it even happened? Well, because in Australia, where they're 14 hours ahead of us, it was already listed in the papers. JFK shot by lone assassin before he was shot. It came out in the papers before he was shot. Oops. Gotta fact check that stuff once in a while. Anyway, and so I met a living witness. Her name was Judith Very Baker. She was Lee Oswald's secret girlfriend from 1963. Not Marina. Lee was married to Marina, his Russian wife, and Judith was married to an American named Robert Baker. But they met and they had an affair, as is wanted to happen. They were both in unhappy marriages, and so Judith's story stayed under wraps for about 30 years due to her own safety and the safety for her kids. So around early 90s, after seeing the Oliver Stone film, which we revisited not that long ago, she came out with her story, wrote a book called Me and Lee on Trine Day Pet Press, and I was totally enamored with the book. This actually puts a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together, specifically why did Lee go to Mexico City, why did Lee go to Clinton and Jackson, Louisiana for the voter registration, things that researchers were curious about for years. She put it all together, and it made complete sense. And So after reading her book, I thought, well, this would be a great story for a musical. What a great love story with the backdrop being the Kennedy assassination. Let me try and contact Judith. And sure enough, she's very contractable. And we even wrote a contract. She's contractable, wrote a contract. Yes, you can write a musical about the book. If it becomes a big thing, then, we'll figure out the rest of the stuff later. And she actually came to New York to help me finish it up as well, too, and also, correct a lot of I had a few mistakes as far as stuff, with the Castro and Batista stuff. I was a little confused about that, and the Cuba. So she helped me clarify a lot of that stuff. And we presented it over the last year or so, made a DVD movie musical of it as well, too. It's a musical, of course.
It is fantastic, as a person that has actually seen it. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It got some really good reviews on YouTube as well, too. And it's definitely something I'll be able to have forever, for sure. And I wasn't going to play Lee Oswald because he was 23 years old, and I was 50 years old. So it almost didn't make sense. But my millennial, my Gen Zer dropped out at the last minute, so I guess I got to play Lee Oswald. So I got a short haircut and did the best I could. I think I could, maybe I pulled it. It was
you
good
really
enough.
did.
It was good enough. It was good enough. Yeah.
But we find out every year of veganism distracts
Yeah,
the hour
I
from
10 years from now. Yeah. And my friend Emily Fremgen played Judith, and we did it at a lot of different theaters. We actually went down to Dallas and did it at the JFK Assassination Conference. We presented there. What a fun adventure that was. I met so many living witnesses. I met Oliver Stone.
What?
Wow.
No, you showed me the Oliver Stone. I'd never seen it before until you showed it to me.
His JFK movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Oliver Stone was there. I met him. This whole story, I met him. It was like about a 15-second interaction. I'll never forget it. He's very tan. Very handsome guy for sure. And I gave him a copy of the DVD. I was like, right. I thought he's going to screen it in his private studio. He's going to watch it. I haven't heard back from him yet. You know how it is. But I did give him a DVD.
Right on.
And I did try and contact him. It's how it is. You know what it's like. Right?
I have a question. What do you think about all some of the people that believe that JFK and JFK Jr. is still alive? There's people that actually believe that.
I wish they were. I wish. That'd be great because JFK Jr. was great.
Mm-hmm.
He would be really old now, right?
He would be probably 60s. He wouldn't be that old.
He'd be better than some of the politicians around now.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, JFK Jr. would be great. No, JFK is not alive. I mean, we all saw what happened.
Right.
Obviously, there was a lot of talk about Hitler being alive. For
What?
years.
What?
Yeah, like he didn't commit suicide with Ava Braun.
Right.
Right. He actually was snuck out to South America somewhere.
Yeah.
Now that's believable because that whole suicide thing, that's just fishy. Like there's no remains. Kennedy's remains are splattered all over Dealey Plaza.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you did there.
JFK Jr. He was all over the. He's not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And his wife
And there's people that still want to believe it.
Yeah. No, they're not coming back.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay. Well, good to know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But I also cannot not to mention how you after I met you, you reached out to me and you asked, "Oh, do you know any Russian ballerina, singer, or actor?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I don't know anybody who can do everything in the same time." But it was for your musical, which is
my new musical.
New musical,
Me
yeah.
and Lee was my second musical. My first musical was Dr. Glassheart.
Ah, yes, another great one.
About a weird doctor and his unscrupulous relationships with politics, doctors and politics mixing together. Who saw that happening in 2011? People were like, that's impossible. What do you mean doctors and politicians mixing together? That'll never happen. So anyway, that was my musical 2011. My current musical is called The Statue. It's based on Fyodor Dostoevsky's writings, and specifically the writings of Anna Dostoevsky, Fyodor Dostoevsky's much younger second wife. Wasn't an affair. His first wife died because everyone died when they were in their 40s in Russia in the 1800s. Just the way when you're in your 40s, you're an old person. Why? Because they didn't eat vegetables.
supposed to die.
I see what you
They
did
really
there.
didn't. Anyway, so I picked up this book written by Anna Dostoevsky, and so she was about 23. Fyodor was about 46. That was a pretty big age difference even back then. It's nothing these days, but. What a lovely tale! What a lovely. Just I thought, just same with me and Lee. What a lovely tale for a musical. What a great love story this is, and I put songs to it, and we're going to be premiering the musical, of which you are both invited to.
Oh yes, please.
On
Thank
Wednesday,
you.
November 1st, at the Lambs Theatrical Organization, which is in Midtown. You definitely invite you. And I found a wonderful actress to play Anna, a wonderful actor to play Fyodor as well too. Everyone's age appropriate. He better not drop out because I am not doing that role.
Are they all Russian?
Neither of them are Russian, but they can both pass because he was trained in Russian theater.
Okay.
She looks like she's Russian, and then I have for the third character who's kind of like what would it be called? Like what's there's main characters. What's the other thing called when there's like
the protagonist or the antagonist?
Like when there's like there's the in Hollywood there's the best actor award and
Right, supporting actor. Right.
So the supporting actor is a fellow named a very extreme, unique performance artist who goes by the name of Vlad, and he's very Russian. He has like all these different names, and so he's going to play the part of Paul, the errant stepson, and he's a crackpot. He's either going to steal the show or he's going to destroy the show. I'm taking a real risk having him even in the show.
And I like a loose cannon in my acting.
He's as loose as they come. I'm just telling you, you cannot drink before the show. You know, I'm sorry I played on the role. And even I'd rather you not drink after the show too, because it's like you're going to make it. It's just, but he's so good. I'm going to take the chance, and I think he'll be fine. He's a little bit of a wild card. That's all.
Why did you need a ballerina though? Like there will be some dancing.
Because I want to mix in the movement arts into the play as well too.
Kinesthetic stuff.
Yeah, just kind of make it a little more interesting. Just, because I wanted to have everything. I wanted to have comedy, drama.
A little bit Stanislavski school.
Sure, I'll take your word for it. My dad would know what that means. And also the movement arts as well too. The culinary arts. I'm going to be serving kasha and pear biscuits at the show.
Wow, vegan.
Who are we talking to here? Who are we talking to?
Sorry, we always have to check, right? Yeah. We vegans always.
With me, you don't, but I appreciate that anyway. Sure. No, I do the same thing too. I ask people. It's so obvious to be vegan. I was like so hardwired to. I go to these parties, and there's no options at all. They just don't care. Some people just don't. I'm not going to name certain members of my family. Don't care.
Do the old, hey Jason, we have salad for you. We have egg salad and potato salad.
They do.
With dairy, right?
With mayonnaise, yeah. Hellman's mayonnaise, yeah. They just don't know. They don't care. They don't want to know. Meanwhile, I've been over backwards for everyone. You know, for everyone's comedy. Even my meeting friends. If we go to, I would not force them to do anything they don't want to do. But just it's just such a lack of respect sometimes. But I'm used to it. It's okay. I bring my own snacks.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the world will come around one day?
Well, as big as the vegan movement is growing, there's never been more meat killed every single day than there is now.
Yeah, the meat consumption, unfortunately.
Meat consumption is going up. Even though.
Not in this country, though.
Milk consumption is going
in the world.
Maybe in the world, yeah. It's just like it's still the same. No, I don't know. There's the Plant-Based Expo coming up. Are you guys familiar with that?
No. I guess we better.
Yes, we have to.
It's at the Javits Center. You can get in for free. Just tell me your influencers, which you are. Tell me, we run Plant Powered Disruptors, the TV show. Like, you're influencers. You get in for free.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So basically, it's like hundreds of it's like the vegan business, the business of veganism. It's at the Javits Center. They do it every year. I've gone the last couple of years. I'm going again. It's in September. We'll talk about that later. But it's in September. I don't know when the show's going to air, but if it airs by September, I'll go check it out at the Javits Center. I don't know.
Are you going to be participating in there?
I'm just going as an attendee.
Or just an attendee? Yeah. Because you are wellness and health advocate, right?
Actually, I'm rebranding myself here. I'll give you guys my new card.
Oh, yeah? All right. Let's take a look at this.
My new card is, I'll give you one. Actually, I have to read this one. I'll give you this one in a second because I have to read it. Okay. It's Advocacy and Creative Marketing Concepts for the Plant-Based Industry, certified in plant-based nutrition from Cornell University, past president of the 4th Street Food Co-op, jingles and copywriting.
Yes, you.
And I was a radio producer of the Progressive Radio Network doing a health and wellness show for teens. Here you go. And so I'm rebranding myself as a creative vegan marketing advocate, although I'll also stuff vitamins into jars, whatever it takes. So I'm always going to be pushing the songs for sure. So I'm going to go to the Javits Center, to the expo, and give out a lot of business cards and maybe try and get a new career in the health and wellness fields.
Right on. Can we hold on to these?
Please do. I have 500 of them.
All right.
Well, that's an amazing picture.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I cannot refrain from asking. You have very distinctive style. So how do you describe your style? To me, you look a little bit like those men in the French movies back in the 70s.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'll take your word for it. I'm not much of a movie person, but my style is definitely. Actually, I was trying to with this particular style, with what I have right now. I was trying to mock the Beatles.
Wow.
I see it.
Yeah, I see it too. Yeah, that's round.
Yeah,
color.
Yeah, with the colors. Yeah. It's just what I had. It's just what I had. It wasn't like, oh, I got this. I have it already. I never get anything. I already have it. I don't even know where these things even come from. I don't know where this tie came from, but this tie's kind of weird.
You actually should have borrowed the hat from the previous guest, Philly's previous guest, because they had the Beatles hat.
Somehow, on the back of this tie, someone wrote Heidi.
What?
Heidi.
Can you get an ECU on this? Is that possible?
Want me to zoom in?
Yeah. Can you get this? That's extreme close-up for those not in the
This
Briz.
is as close as you get.
Okay, can you see where it says Heidi on there?
Yeah.
How weird is that?
That is weird.
I don't even know where I got this tie
Maybe
from.
it's Heidi's tie, and she wants it back.
It's tidy.
I see what you did there.
I don't know.
Where did you get the tie?
I don't know. Okay, when I was doing Me and Lee,
Okay.
everyone had to wear black ties, and I think
I
I actually took someone else's Heidi's black tie, and Heidi has my tie. Nonetheless, I've got Heidi's tie, and I'm not afraid to use
It's
it.
like in the kindergarten we used to put.
Very similar. Very similar.
Names.
Write your name on stuff. So I think we might need another question or so. Maybe one more question. We might wrap it up. I'm reading the room here. I'm reasonably. People are doing like little spinny signs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
No, I think, well, it was amazing conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to tell people about disrupting the fabric of society or like animal rights advocacy or anything?
Yes. In our final 60 seconds that we have, we've given a 60-second warning here. I felt that coming in a couple times.
We tried to ignore it.
We did try to ignore it the first time. The second time, we cannot ignore this any longer. Right? We did ignore it the first because I saw him come in. I don't know if you caught that, but it wasn't glamorous. We got like the cane and the.
Oh yeah,
you caught it. Okay.
Yeah, the hook.
Okay. So here's the thing. There's two different ways you can become an advocate as far as things go. I think there's protesting in the streets, and I think that has its time and its place. But sometimes when I go to protest, and I'm not saying don't go to protest. I'm saying go to protest because people need to see that. But I think sometimes it happens and you go home and it's like, what just happened? You know, now the street's filled with the same old stupid stuff. What I'd recommend as far as time and energy, and do protests, right? Get involved in a specific brick and mortar organization that's doing work for animal advocacy and veganism, be it a pet shelter, an adoption pet place, something that has a storefront. In my case, it's the 4th Street Food Co-op in the East Village. I'm there every Friday morning from 10 o'clock until noon. I'm there every Friday morning. I'm not going to be out. I'm not out in the street for a couple hours, which nothing wrong with that. What I do though is I'm in the store for 2 hours. You can come there. You can talk to me about anything. You can talk to me about veganism every Friday from 10 a.m. to noon. I will be there for the last 20 years. I'm not leaving that shift. Okay? You can't fire me. It's a volunteer job.
He will be there.
I will be there. I'll also give you some fun discounts and stuff too if no one's looking, you know. You didn't hear that here. So it was the 4th Street Food Co-op. You can learn about veganism. We'll talk about 20 different kinds of beans, all these legumes, and we'll have fun with it. Seasonal produce. That's my contribution. That's how I'm doing my mark. And also maybe get involved in a company through my plant-based advocacy. And that's a wrap.
Right on. Thank
Great.
you so much.
Thank you so much
Round of
for
applause.
joining
Thank
us.
you. And congratulations to Plant Powered Disruptors on your new show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tune in next week. Plant Powered Disruptors interrupt the fabric of reality, challenging the status quo so you can see, speaking up for animals by disrupting. Plant Powered Disruptors, plants and pigs and veganism advocacy. Here we go. Plant Powered Disruptors, 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 plants and pigs and veganism advocacy.